Hey y'all, Melissa with you today, and today's project is this hooded poncho. This is kind of a fun spring wardrobe piece to throw on over workout wear, over a t-shirt and jeans, whatever you'd like, just another little extra layer. And to make it fun, I've also added this lace trim and I have lined the hood with lace. So to do this whole project, I'm going to need you to visit the link in the description below because you're going to need to get the hood and neckline templates, and then meet me back at the camera and we'll sew this up. To make your pattern, start with your shoulder width measurement. Add 12 to 14 inches to that measurement. This will be the width of your fabric. Measure from the base of your neckline down to however long you want your poncho to be. Then cut 2 rectangles with this width by your preferred length plus 3/4 of an inch for the hem. Make sure your knit fabric stretches widthwise with your pieces. Then fold your tunic pieces in half vertically. Use the neckline template to cut out the neckline at the fold. Then drop the outer shoulder edge 1 inch and mark a line from the shoulder to the neckline and cut that piece off. Finally, measure about 12 inches down on the side and then round off the bottom from the side towards the center front or back. Once you have your shape, cut out 2 lace pieces that match the bottom tunic edge. Don't forget to cut 2 mirrored hood pieces and 2 mirrored hood lining pieces. Open the front and back tunic pieces flat. Turn the top edge of one of the lace pieces under to the wrong side and then pin the lace across the front. Wrong side of the lace to the right side of the front. Repeat this with the other lace piece and the back. Stitch across that top folded edge. Place the front and the back right sides together and stitch across the shoulders. So here's what this looks like with the shoulders sewn. And then I've gone ahead and I've done another step, which is to sew a basting stitch all the way around the edges, 1/2 inch in from the raw edge. That's going to do 2 things. The next step is hemming, and so the first thing that does is it holds the lace and the knit fabric together so that they'll act as one when I'm hemming. The other thing it does is that it gives me a guideline around these curves that I'm going to use to fold against. So I want to fold right on that stitching line. And you'll notice, since we're working with a circle here, the edges are just slightly longer in length than the edge once we folded it. So where I've sewn the stitching line is a little bit shorter than that raw edge, which means I'm going to end up with some of this extra fabric. And the raw edge, the basted stitch there, gives me a guideline to create that curve and to also kind of gather the extra from the raw edge in a little bit. So you'll notice I will have kind of puckers on the edge of the hem here where I stitch, but on the folded line and on the outside you're not going to see any of that. And that's just the nature of hemming a circle. Another way you could do it is you could use bias tape if you wanted, and that would mold to the curves of the circle so you wouldn't have quite so many puckers on the inside. But for this type of casual wear project, I just try to space out those little gathers and then go ahead and stitch. So I'm going to pin this hem all the way around the whole circle, and I'm going to stitch that up, and then we're going to set this part aside for a little while and start working on the hood. So let's look at the hood next. So here's what the poncho looks like once you've gone ahead and you've hemmed all the way around the edges. And now we're going to set this aside and we're going to work on the hood for a little bit instead. So the first thing you want to do is you want to take your 2 hood pieces that are out of your knit fabric. You want to lay them right sides up, And notice that they're mirror images of each other. This is important. You don't want just one side of your hood. It's not going to work. So this notch here is what's going to form the back of the head here. And so what you're going to do is you're going to fold those notch edges right sides together. And they should line right up, and then you're going to stitch right across there. Again, I like doing this at the same time with both pieces so that I make sure I have two mirror imaged pieces. So we're going to sew right across there. And then I've already gone ahead and done that on my lace pieces for my lining. So let me show you what these look like once they're stitched. So you see how it starts to create that room for your head in there. And here are my two mirror imaged pieces. And what I'm going to want to do after you stitch those notches is you want to place your two hood pieces together. You want to match up the little notch seam you sewed, and then you're going to sew all the way around this curved seam. So I'm going to go ahead and do that to the whole hood, and then we'll talk about how to finish assembling it. Okay, y'all, here are my two hoods stitched together, the outer and the lining hood. So now what I want to do is I'm going to open them up, and I want to place them right sides together. And I want to match those center top hood seams, and I want to match the center back seams. So if I push one into the other, it's going to look kind of like this. And the next thing you want to do is you want to stitch all along the face edge, so all along here. And I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we're going to be ready to put this on the poncho. So once you have sewn around the face seam on the hood, here's what it looks like, and then you're going to want to turn the whole thing right side out. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to take the poncho and fold it in half, matching the two shoulder seams with each other, so that you can mark the center front and the center back. And then open it up right side out. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to match the back of the hood with whichever side you've decided is the center back. And then you're going to pin around the edges of the neckline and get that front end of the collar to match to the center front. Now I should mention there's an optional step here if you would like. You could top stitch the face edge of the collar. I am just going to press that, and I can do that after I've stitched it onto the poncho. So go ahead and pin your hood around that neckline. Okay, once you've got that pinned, it's going to look like this all around the neckline, and you want to stitch all the way around. You want to go ahead and finish this seam. One other option, if you don't have a serger, you could also, after you sewed this seam, finish it off with bias tape. So let me go ahead and sew that, and then I will show you the last step. Once you have sewed that neckline edge, here is what the neckline looks like with the hood on it. And then there's just one step left, which is to match up where the lace starts on both sides here on the front and the back, and then stitch about an inch in from the raw edge and back stitch at the beginning and the end of that seam. So that little 1 inch line there, that's what's going to create your sleeve hole for your arm to come through. And then that's it, and you have made yourself a hooded poncho.